Welcome to TJ Walker Interactive. Glad you're joining us today. We'll be taking your questions, comments on anything to do with what's in the news from a speaking communication standpoint. We'll be going over your questions in our second segment if you've posted questions at tjwalker.com, YouTube, or some of the other forums. Right now I'm joined by my colleagues Mike Bako, Jennifer Wallerstein. Thanks for joining us. Mike, what are the top stories in the news?
Well, the main story, and it does not come as much as of a surprise, but Prince William, it was announced, will marry Kate Middleton. That will be coming up in the next year or so. TJ, what are the larger implications of this? We know that when Prince Charles married Diana, 750 million people worldwide watched. Pretty inconceivable that that will happen again. But what are the larger implications of this type of wedding in the celebrity culture?
Well, that was a big deal. I remember I was in high school and it happened, I guess I can't remember if we got up at 6 in the morning or saw it at midnight. That was a huge, huge deal. I mean, to me, there is no greater lesson other than people like a fairy tale. People like hearing about princes and princesses and royalty and fairy tales. It's also just a sign that, hey, we're human beings. We need a break from hardcore politics and war. Here's a story that's really not about anything that important. For my mind, it's not that much different than people's fascination with Kim Kardashian, or just on my way back from lunch and I saw about 1,000 people surrounding Katy Perry. And people love celebrities, they love fluff. Here's my question to our listeners and viewers though. What's really the difference between being fascinated with Kim Kardashian versus the royal wedding? Because I know a lot of people who look down their nose at celebrity news about the Kardashians or Tom Cruise's wedding, and yet are fascinated with news about the royals. Is there a difference? Is it worthy of a distinction? Jennifer?
I happen to think that people love a wedding, and people love something that's, fairy tale, like you said, happiness, good, a rebirth. And I also think people were really so upset when Diana died that this is nice to see her firstborn getting married and possibly starting a family of his own. I think it gives people a chance to have a positive spin on what has been almost a decade now of just sad tragedies for them.
And it does seem as if her children have become the world's children. We
Yes.
saw those funeral scenes, and it was so sad, and they were so young,
sad.
almost like John Kennedy and Caroline when President Kennedy was shot and killed, that the country embraced them, the world embraced Diana's kids, and now they're seeing one of their own get married. So while it might not reach 750 million, TJ, it probably
wouldn't
will.
be surprised.
You're predicting the audience will be smaller?
I think it will be smaller.
Why?
I feel like obviously in this day and age where there's so many other things to watch and to do, there's not that narrow focus on just this one thing. Surely it'll be on every magazine cover, there'll be multi-simulcast all over on every channel that you go to, but I just don't think there's that draw anymore of people coming to that one event. If you just look at any event right now, aside from the Super Bowl, and that's a United States type of event, viewership for these worldwide events aren't what they used to be.
We'll see, and we'll report back to you what sort of an audience it does generate. I mean, the world is a lot bigger in terms of people than it was back in 1980, 81 as well. We'll see. What else is in the news, Mike?
Well, speaking of people watching, people were watching Conan O'Brien, his initial show last week, over 4 million viewers. It dwindled as the week went on, but he's come up with an innovative stunt. Let's call it a stunt. He's flying his Conan blimp over the Burbank studios of The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. This reminds me of something that the New Jersey Nets did just recently this year. They put up a big building-sized banner right across the street from Madison Square Garden where the Knicks played, almost throwing it in their face. Roger Ailes has done this before with Fox News and NBC. TJ, what do you make of this? Do you think it's just a PR stunt? Do you think that there's some venom in this from Conan?
Yes and yes. By all accounts, Conan does still have some animosity. Now, was he even behind this? Did he even know about it? I don't know, but there is certainly the sense of some animosity in your face. But it was obviously a good publicity stunt. Here we are talking about it. And we're seeing numerous stories about this. So it's a brilliant publicity stunt. I don't know how much it cost, but it's generating far in excess of what it cost in terms of extra publicity, extra people talking about it. It does remind me of stunts that Roger Ailes is known for, of going right into the face of the opponent. But now everyone likes to do it. As I was walking down to Fox News Channel Saturday, what's right across the street from Fox? A gigantic billboard for CNN. So CNN likes to try to get in the face too. It's a common thing of trying to psych out your opponent, whether it's in the boxing world, the political world, or in the media world. One of my favorite techniques back from my political consulting days is you go up to a candidate, the opposing candidate, the second the debate finishes, and you shake their hand, say, Mike, don't worry about it, you'll do better next time. They're thinking, what? It's just an immediate psych out, and it works in every field. Mike, what else is in the news?
TJ, I don't know if this was a psych out or not, but yesterday Apple put out a press release saying, big, huge news. And anytime Apple makes a proclamation like that, the world draws their eyes and their attention to it. And their announcement was that the Beatles will be releasing their catalog on iTunes, finally coming into the MP3 age, being able to offer their music online, something that they resisted for so long. What are the PR implications of an announcement like this from Apple? Now, it turned out to be a major announcement, but they could have basically said anything was going on. And all
now,
this.
You're saying you consider this a major announcement?
I definitely think so. People,
Why?
For many years, the Beatles have resisted. Paul McCartney, Yoko Ono. Apple was their publishing group, completely separate from Apple, the technology company. And for many, many years, they resisted putting this out. They made so much money over the last 20 years selling their actual CDs, actual discs. So there's really no need for them to do that. They would put out a greatest hits.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Can't anyone buy a Beatles CD, put it in their computer, rip the music off, and then put it on their cell phone?
There's
So why is this new? Why is it really that?
I think that's more annoying to have to burn it off a CD and then onto your iTunes and then onto another disc or onto an MP3 player so you can play it in your car or if you go to the gym to use it.
I'll be honest with you. I thought for the longest time it struck me as hubris on their part that they were the Beatles. They were not going to be doing this. You know, the Backstreet Boys you could buy digitally. You could buy Billy Joel digitally, but we're the Beatles. We're not going to do this. We're going to keep ourselves separate for so long, and now they're just going forward and embracing this technology.
But if you look at the backstory there, I think an impartial observer would conclude that Apple basically lied to the Beatles at every step, from Apple computer to Apple, and then it was like, okay, we know you registered the name Apple, but we have nothing to do with music. We'll never, ever do anything with music. And then a few years later go by, and they're in music. So I'm not so convinced that the Beatles were the ones who acted out of arrogance here. We'll see. Here's the bigger take. I think Apple did a great job of teasing the media, hinting that something was big. And you know what? They got a lot of attention. They got a lot of publicity, bloggers speculating it on what was going to be. Some even speculated that they were going to get rid of the MP3 format, come up with a whole new format to revolutionize the way music is delivered on the internet. None of that happened. There is beginning now a backlash as we do this live at 2 o'clock on Tuesday, a backlash among a lot of bloggers and people who follow this closely in the media saying, you know what, Apple blew it. They promised us something big, they did not deliver. So that is one of the real risks involved if you're going to tease the media. You better deliver. Usually Apple does a great job of delivering something new, big, surprising. I think they'll still get media attention next time, but you can only cry wolf so many times before the media stops showing up. Mike will be back in a moment, and Jennifer will be with us. We'll be taking your questions, comments on anything to do with topics in the news, looking at it from a communications perspective, plus any questions you have on public speaking and speaking to the media. I'm TJ Walker. We'll be back in a moment.